Okay, hello. This is the 2020 review of Swan Lake performed in 27 bathtubs and the Vincent van Gogh video. This is Sabrina Rodriguez and Julian Aragon.
We are going to present a brief resume about the Swan Lake performance and the Vincent van Gogh art. First, Sabrina is going to tell us about the Swan Lake.
Okay, so the codes that I most pop out to me are the gestural codes. This is all body language set to the beautiful music of Swan Lake. There are 27 performers from the American Ballet, the Royal Ballet, the Paris Opera Ballet, all each one in their bathtubs or in a bathtub performing Swan Lake. And the interesting thing here is that choreographer Corey Baker in 2020 brought all of these different people from all over the world together, which is a totally new concept. I think we've never seen dancers from so many different companies in so many different parts of the world come together to create a piece like this. The social construct of this piece was 2020, so it's during the pandemic, it's during the isolation, and to see each one of these dancers come together, even though they're so far apart, to make this piece really stands out, and I think it really ties in with what's happening now in the world. Visually, what we can see first are each different tub and each different interpretation of each dancer. One ballerina here has her full costume. Another dancer filled his bathtub with feathers, which I personally found slightly perturbing due to the fact that you usually get in a bathtub to become clean, and this was slightly messy. But in the end, they all come together in this final image, which we can see over here, that really shows that even though we're so far apart, we can still bring synchronicity to each session. So for me, this does break the mold. I don't think I've ever seen this before, even in today's culture. And I think through the three steps of the revision process, which the first one was observation, what we visually see, it ties in with the context, the social, historic, and political context of the day of being each one in isolation, and how each bathtub filled with so little water, to me, represents the fact that, you know, it's kind of depressing. It's each person in their own space, reduced, such a beautiful creature as a swan reduced to such little space and such little water, was quite perturbing to me personally. And I do think that what shows through in my final reflection of this piece is that we can both persist in making art even though we are so far apart and we are in isolation, and we can still have beautiful cultural experience, but not in the same way, and obviously in the restriction, each one to their own space and so far apart. So I both found this piece beautiful, but also a bit perturbing because of its isolation. And the next piece that we're going to present is with Julian.
Well, first of all, here we can see visual communication. That code, it's very clear. It is a painting, one of the last paintings of Vincent van Gogh when he was in his best age as painting, but in a social conflict with him. He has a mental condition that make him go to a psychiatric in France. He was in love with a girl, and for that motive, he cut his ear 6 months before making this piece of art. This piece of art represents what he sees in the window of the medical center that he goes for his medical condition. And when he was making it, he texts a lot his brother. He sent letters about how he feel about the sky of France. He feel like the stars were seeing him and he wasn't seeing the stars. He was talking about death as an issue that every man wants to reach, not like a fear that every man has to have. That's why when we see the stars in this night, we see that they are like little eyes, because Vincent feel like the stars were watching him. If we make an interpretation, first we need to observe the painting. We see that this painting was made with oil, and it has very clean pinceladas, but we also can feel the emotions that Vincent was making, because we have like a psychedelic vision of how he see the night, each night that he passed in this medical center. For the context, we have that Vincent van Gogh was in love with a woman that make him feel like he deserves a better condition for her, uh, but he cannot reach them. He was with mental conditions that make him feel a little perturbed, and also make him feel like life has no sense of continuation. As a personal interpretation, this is one of my favorite paintings of all time. If you have the opportunity to go to New York City, it's really cheap, and really recommend to go to MoMA, where it's painting, the principal painting in exhibition, and you can see it like for 1 hour, and you're going to feel that love, that fear, and that psychedelic vision of a night. Because it's not a typical night. It's a night of a man that was in love, but can see far from his feet.
That's so interesting. I think the fact that both of these pieces were created in such different time periods, but the fact that both the choreographer in the video that I reviewed, and all of the dancers, and also Vincent van Gogh were in isolation. It's so interesting to see the contraposition and the juxtaposition of both these pieces that are so far removed from each other in time, but also how each artist felt removed from their own time and social construct because of the isolation that they were in. So this was a very
Something
interesting
that I
juxtaposition.
Yeah, so something that I see is that these both pieces can make the context of 2020. We are now in isolation. It's really difficult for us to see our family, our love, uh, our grandpas, because they are the more dangerous from this virus. But we start seeing the world in a different way. In a different way. You say it in the video. It's really perturbing to see the sun lake in bathtubs, and this is another way of seeing the night. So I think that isolation makes us and makes you feel different, see the life in other way, and these two pieces of art are an expression of it.
I think it's interesting to be able to be both perturbed and in awe of the reality that we're in. And I think that we can find both beauty and a little bit of sadness and melancholy in both. So thank you so much for this discussion. That was very, very interesting.
Thank you, you too.